Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to the June edition of the Staff Wellness and Health Booster Sessions. We are excited to present today's session, Team Activities that Foster Wellbeing. My name is Chad Saxon. I'm a communications specialist with Shared Health, and I'll be the moderator for today's session. So on that session, we'll discuss, as I mentioned, team activities that foster well-being. The Greater Good Science Center at Berkeley University identifies research-based building blocks of well-being, including gratitude, social connection, purpose, and happiness. When these building blocks are fostered in the workplace, we are more productive, feel more energized, are more likely to learn from setbacks, and treat others with respect and compassion. In this session, we will explore multiple activities that teams can incorporate into their daily, weekly, and monthly routines to increase their own well-being and build a supportive and engaging workplace culture. Our presenter today is Sheila Becker, Leadership Development Consultant with the Winnipeg Regional Health Authority. Sheila has extensive experience conducting needs assessments, developing and delivering training, and consulting on performance issues with a specialization in leadership development, talent management, change management, and employee engagement. Before we get to the presentation, I'll just note that we'll have a few minutes for questions at the end once Sheila's finished with her presentation. So if you do have any questions that come to mind during the presentation, please just enter them into the question section. Sheila and I were just discussing before we came online that she also has a couple spots for feedback from the audience. So she'll mention those, and if you have any comments, please enter those into the chat section. Also, today's session is being recorded and will be made available as a streaming video on demand, and that'll be on our Shared Health Providers page, and there's a mental health section for that. I'll put the link for that into the chat, and you can find today's session, but also all of the past sessions in that area as well. So with that, that's the little bit of housekeeping items I had. I'll turn things over to Sheila for her presentation.
Great, wonderful, thanks, Chad. So hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us. I'm really pleased to have this time with you. And as Chad did a great job in the introduction, as Chad said, what we're going to look at today is some activities that teams can use to increase well-being among the team and build an engaging workplace. And there are multiple building blocks of well-being, so I want to zero in on a few of them to get a little bit more specific. So we'll look at gratitude, purpose, social connection, and happiness. And if we're talking about well-being, it's helpful to have a common definition. So I've taken this definition of well-being from the Gallup organization in their What is Employee Well-Being and Why is it Important article. So they define well-being as including the major components of a great life, an individual's experiences and perceptions of what's important. Ultimately, it represents how someone's life is going. So there's a lot of subjectivity. Individual defines for themselves what that well-being is, although the research shows a lot of consistency, which is why we have set building blocks. Now, the other piece to keep in mind about well-being is we're able to have these discussions about how to foster well-being because we can impact it. So within the workplace, there's value talking about well-being because we know that life and our work, personal life and work, are not isolated from each other. So one's going to impact the other. So if we want well-being throughout all aspects of our life, then the workplace and organizations that employ people have a great opportunity to help foster that. And the more areas and elements of well-being that is in an individual's life, they really add up to a higher level of well-being. So the workplace can be an important part of adding to that. And we can transform well-being. So there are certainly aspects of ourselves that are harder to change, or our environment, but well-being can very much be impacted. So we want to make sure we capitalize on that opportunity. Now, we also want to look at, well, why Why should we bother to address well-being in the workplace? And again, we go back to the Gallup research, and they have found that employees who strongly agree that their employer cares about their overall well-being, when compared to other employees, they're 69% less likely to search for a new job. They're 71% less likely to report experiencing a lot of burnout. And we know that's a huge issue in our workplaces right now, particularly within the healthcare field. Those employees are 36% more likely to be thriving in their overall lives and 3 times more likely to be engaged at work. And those employees are 5 times more likely to strongly advocate for their company as a place to work and to strongly agree that they trust the leadership of their organizations. And when recruitment is such a strong and important topic for us and goal for us, having those strong advocates out there is super beneficial. So let's get to our first building block of wellness, which is gratitude. Now, when we talk about gratitude, there's 2 components to it. So first, gratitude includes the recognition that we've received something of value. It could be a kindness, it could be a compliment, it could be a service, it could be anything that we personally value. And the other component of gratitude is that this source of goodness is outside ourselves. So it came from somewhere else. Perhaps another person, perhaps a part of the community, perhaps the organization. People have certainly spiritual sources. So it's that something of value, and it came from outside ourselves, and that generates gratitude. And while I'm discussing some other aspects about gratitude, I invite you to type in the chat, what are you grateful for? So start thinking about gratitude in your own work, if you want to keep it workplace focused, or you can broaden it to in your life in general. So go ahead in the chat and add what you are grateful for. And I want to talk, while you do that, I want to talk about the benefits of gratitude. So practicing gratitude can help enhance positive emotions. It improves your relationships. It reduces impatience, and boy, I can use that one. It improves decision making. It helps us find meaning in our work, reduces turnover on the team, and it improves our attention to self-care and our physical health. So a lot of benefits both personally and within the team. And the activity that I want to talk about for gratitude is the gratitude tree. Creating a gratitude tree allows team members to express things that they're grateful for from their teammates, from the organization, within the workplace. And you can choose the focus for the gratitude tree. You can choose to keep it team-based. You can open up to any aspect of work, or you can open it up to any aspect of life when you do this as a team. And it can take a few different forms. So if you're in person together with your teammates, you can draw out a trunk of a tree on a large piece of paper, such as a flip chart paper. And then each person would get several pieces of paper, which are the leaves, and they would write on each leaf what they're grateful for. And then those get stuck up on the tree. And if you can create leaf-shaped pieces of paper, that makes it even more fun. You can use flower shape, butterfly shape, you can get as creative as you want. So you can do that activity in a meeting and then have the gratitude tree up there for people just to reflect on and review. You can leave the gratitude tree up and continue to add leaves, add additional things you're grateful for. If you're working virtually as a team, you can do the same activity using a whiteboard in one of the video conferencing applications. So you can certainly continue, you can do it that way. I was once at a conference, and in a room of over 200 people, we did gratitude trees at every table. And then the trees were posted around the room. So we ended up making a gratitude forest, which was super fun. Okay.
We've had a few come in, Sheila.
Awesome. Let's
Mentioned
hear
supportive coworker, health, my family, my team, and my friends. I'm grateful for my family. That's certainly a common thread, understandably so. Gratitude to be working in a field that helps make a difference in people's lives. That's terrific.
Yeah.
Mentioned that we are grateful, experience gratitude for things outside of ourselves. How about having gratitude for things within ourselves, such as musical ability? That's a very good point as well. Somebody noted grateful for a flexible schedule. Grateful that had a job during the pandemic, and that in healthcare, long-term care, it was one of the safest places to work with all the correct PPE in place. So those are just some of the responses we had. Lots of great information there.
That's awesome. Thank you. Thank you all for putting that in there. And one tip, the more specific you can be when you write what you're grateful for, the more powerful it is. So it's great to be grateful for family, but think about being more specific. Which family member and what is it about them that you're grateful for? All right, wonderful. Let's move to our next building block of well-being, and that is purpose. And having a sense of purpose is having the intention to accomplish something that is both meaningful to us and contributes to the greater good. So it's very much based on our values. That's what helps define what's meaningful to us. And with purpose, it is fulfilled through our actions. So we define what's important to us and how we want that to translate into our purpose. But unless we're actually dedicating our actions to it, it actually could be frustrating. So that action piece is really important to add in there. Now, the power of purpose, and we're going to see some real similar threads when we talk about the benefits of fostering these building blocks. So having a sense of purpose, really, it's associated with mental and physical well-being. It helps us manage stress. So it gives us that bigger buffer between us and stress. It helps us turn challenges into learning and growth opportunities. It helps us maintain feelings of hope and optimism. We're able to make healthier life choices, and that helps us maintain better health and longevity. Now, some of you may not think in terms of a purpose at work. So here are some good coaching questions you can ask yourself in terms of, how do you articulate what your purpose is? So think and kind of reflect on and respond for yourself. What are you great at? What are your best talents or natural abilities? What have been the most meaningful experiences in your life? When you were a kid, what did you want to be when you grew up? What roles attracted you? So those questions help articulate what is my purpose? What is that contribution I want to make? And an activity that a team can do to kind of capture all of those answers and kind of put together a common picture for the team is to create a team resume. And just as each of us could have an individual resume that talks about our best talents and our most meaningful experiences, we can compile that information for our team and have a team resume. You can decide among the team what categories you want to use. So common categories would be educational background, professional experience, professional skills and qualifications, major achievements. In healthcare, there's a lot of licenses or certifications you may want to include in there. And you can expand it. You can include hobbies, what travel people have done, volunteering, whatever category makes sense for you. And then you would compile that, bring all the individual responses together for that collective response, that collective resume, team resume. And again, this can be done both if you're in person, if you're physically with people, as well as if you're virtual. So if you're together in the same physical space, you can do a gallery walk, and that is putting flip charts around the room, and each flip chart would have one of these categories. So maybe one is educational background, another is professional experience, another is skills and qualifications. And then individuals move around the room, adding their personal information to each of those flip charts. And then a team member or the leader can take and compile the flip charts into that one team resume document. If you're working virtually, you can do the similar thing, but using whiteboards. Or you can have individual team members send in the information, email in the information to the leader or another central person who's willing to do that compiling. And when all of that information comes in from the team members, they can create that resume document and review it in a team meeting. So when you start to look at, wow, among all of us, here's the vast amount of education we have. Here's the huge scope of experience we represent as a team. Here are the skills and qualifications. You can start looking at, well, how many years of experience do we have in this field? And when you add it all up, it gets quite impressive. So it's a really fun activity. And you can update the resume when you have somebody join the team or achieve a new certification or piece of experience. So it's really meaningful, and it's pretty impressive to see the collective qualifications, but it also helps us understand, oh, where are the strengths? Who has which special talent? So when we want to collaborate and we need a little bit of extra help, we know which team member is the go-to person for that topic. So it's quite practical as well. Okay, let's go to our third building block of well-being, and that is social connection. And social connection is the feeling that we belong to a group and generally feel close to other people. It is a core psychological need. And whether or not you are an introvert or an extrovert, if you like a few core people, if you like a lot of people in your life, we need that connection. So it is essential to feeling satisfied with our life. Now, an activity that you can use that I want to talk about, it's probably an activity that you've already participated in or have led. Although it is an activity that fits quite seamlessly in with our other, the work that we're already doing. So using check-ins and check-outs at meetings. So at the beginning of a meeting, inviting people to check in, just to share something. And it really allows each person to be present, to feel present and seen and heard. They've shared at least that during the course of the meeting. Checking in emphasizes focus, so it brings people's focus and commitment to the group in that moment. And depending on the questions that you use, you get to know each other a little bit better. And anytime we know people better, it helps build trust and empathy and compassion and collaboration. So You've probably done this activity, but I want to stretch it a little bit. I want to suggest that some of the check-ins could be a little more interesting than let us know what you're working on today. So here's some questions that could bring inspiration to the meeting. So what's something that brought you joy this month? Who's someone that inspired you this week? Who is one person who changed your life but doesn't know it? If you walked into a room with everyone you've ever met in it, who would you look for? I can tell you I would make a beeline to my Nana. Go ahead and answer that for us if you're willing. If you walked into a room with everyone you've ever met in it, who would you look for? And then the last question, what kind of impact do you believe you have on people? Okay, so a little bit of meaning and inspiration. I tend to like the quirky questions, the fun questions. So you can add some fun to your meetings with questions that are a little unexpected. So what would the title of your autobiography be? If you were a kitchen utensil, which one would you be and why? If you could choose, or if you could win a lifetime supply of one thing, what would it be? For me, it'd be Diet Coke, hands down. Which TV game show would you have the best chance of winning? And what's the most amazing thing you've seen in nature? That's cool. You can also do check out questions. So as people leave the meeting, really ensure they leave on a positive note. You can have some checkout questions, and certainly some typical ones. How are you feeling as you leave this meeting? What action items have you committed to in this meeting? What's one thing you're taking away from the meeting? On a scale from 1 to 10, how useful was this meeting, or how productive was it? You could also add fun at this point. What are you most looking forward to after work today? Okay, so you can have fun coming in and going out of the meeting. Chad, did we get anybody that shared who they would go?
Yeah, we had one response. Somebody noted their dad, which
yeah,
is great.
Nice. Yeah, those family members really are special to us.
For sure.
All right, thank you. So other ways to foster that social connection is to celebrate successes. When we recognize each other's and the team overall's contributions, it really strengthens that connection. And you can do that by inviting team members to share a win and explain why it was a win for them. And you can do that once a month, once a quarter. Doesn't have to be super often, or maybe you do want it often. It's a great strategy to recognize a colleague who went above and beyond. And that's anytime. That can happen in a meeting, that can happen by walking down the hall and really letting them know, hey, thank you, that was super helpful for me or for our clients. And share stories on how the team's work benefits the client, how it reinforces the organization's purpose, and really gives a positive impact to that broader community. So often we have our head down and we're doing our work and really focused on getting things done that we don't take time to kind of sit back and recognize the impact that it has, and that really doing that together creates that bond and it's a good activity for connection, but it also reinforces that purpose that we're there to accomplish that we talked about. And another way to foster social connection is to have fun together. So while I talk about this, I'm going to invite people to enter in the chat. What are some of the ways they like to have fun with their coworkers? Okay. Usually we need to be pretty intentional about scheduling time for the team just to be together, just to socialize. So some of the ways you can do that, you can make sure you have that socializing time. You can have lunch together. It's great if you're co-located and you physically have a space where you can eat lunch together. Our team has scheduled some lunches every few weeks. So yes, we're virtual, but now we're together virtual eating lunch. You can do an activity outside of work. In the past, I've gone with teammates, with teams bowling or doing an escape room, lots of different activities. What you want to make sure with that one is that you choose an activity that's comfortable for everyone. So something like bowling isn't going to work if some team members have some mobility issues. With one of my teams in my career, one of the individuals was pretty claustrophobic, and the thought of an escape room where you're locked in, sometimes more so than others, that was really uncomfortable. So we chose to not do that, to do an escape room. Because if you're doing activity together to build social connections, you want to make sure everybody's able to enjoy themselves. Celebrating holidays and personal milestones is a great way to connect. So if someone gets married or has a baby or moves into a new house or has one of those big birthdays, whatever, it's a great great reason to celebrate. You can learn a skill together, not one of those work-related skills. A friend of mine went out with her work team and learned how to make sushi. One of them knew how to, so she had them over to her house and taught the rest of them. And you're learning a skill, but really it's a fun time together. Okay.
We did have a few responses there. I'll just read a couple out. We're go for a walk together during quick walk during lunch. That's always a great idea if it's available to you. Going out to play bingo, the dollar store, Christmas gift exchange, annual Christmas party. Have a check-in with coworkers via Teams most mornings for about 10 minutes just to talk about personal items before they get started on their professional activities. It's a great idea. Potluck, always popular, and sharing snaps from overseas trips with colleagues.
Oh, fantastic. I love those.
Yeah.
Great. Thank you for sharing, everyone. Okay. And then there's the fourth building block that we said we would talk about. And this is a great one to show how incredibly entwined these building blocks are with each other. So we're going to talk about happiness. And the definition of happiness that I've selected is the experience of joy, contentment, or positive well-being, combined with a sense that one's life is good, meaningful, and worthwhile. So you start to see some of the elements we've already talked about combined into happiness. And happiness can look different ways for different people. For some people, it's harmony and contentment, quite a soothing feeling. For others, it's a much more energized feeling of exuberance and joy. And just as we're well aware of how an unhappy person can impact people around them, happy people increase the happiness of people around them too. So the more we can foster happiness in ourselves and each other, the better. And instead of sharing an activity, I want to share a tool with you. This is a happiness calendar from the Greater Good Science Center out of University of California at Berkeley. And they publish one of these happiness calendars every month, and each day has a suggestion on what you can do. So each month has a theme. You can see at the top this month, it's Be Your Best Self. And then you have 30 suggestions on how to do that. So it's fun. In the past, I've printed and posted this in our physical workspace. It's even better if you can share it on a virtual workspace because each of these suggestions has a link to other resources. So a tool to share with you. All right, that is my presentation. I'd love to hear if there's any questions.
Okay, I'll just take a look here and see. We do have a question about if they'll be able to have a copy of the presentation. So as I mentioned, it will be recorded. So yeah, it will be posted to the health providers page on shared on the that's part of the Shared Health website. I will go and grab a link to that and put that in the chat just for everybody to have access to it. So yeah, absolutely, we're happy to share. And as I mentioned earlier, all of the other sessions that have taken place over the last couple of years can also be found on that page. So there's tons of great information, a lot of topics very similar to kind of what Sheila touched on today, but also some different aspects too that were related at times to the pandemic.
Wonderful. And if people have any questions or requests for further information or resources, you have my contact email up there. You're welcome to shoot me an email, and I'm happy to connect you with whatever resources I can.
Great. I'm just trying to add this, and I'll add this into the chat here in a second. Just having a little bit of a glitch, a computer glitch, but just checking to see if there's any other questions at the same time. Just few people noting thanks, very inspiring and easy, and some easy things to do. Thank you for sharing this. Okay, and now you can see that I've just into the chat section there. I just placed the address for the health providers page where you can find all the past sessions. So if anyone has any additional questions, I'd ask you put them into the question section right now, and if not, it is 12:30, so we could probably, or just past 12:30, so we could end things here. Okay.
Great.
Not seeing any additional. Yeah. Sorry. Go ahead. Sorry. Yeah, not seeing any additional questions, so I would just say thank you very much, Sheila, for your presentation today.
Thank you. It was great to be here.
Great. Thank you to the audience as well for joining us, and we really appreciate all the engagement and lots of good feedback in the chat. And yeah, always great to hear from everybody and what they think, how they feel about things. So again, with that, thank you to all, and we'll just end things here and hope everybody has a good rest of the day. Goodbye.
Yeah. Bye-bye.